Aloha and what's going on? Another impromptu video. It seems like that's all I've been doing these days. I'm going to snag a few titles that I've been wanting to get for a while through the Steam Summer Sale. It's coming to an end, but I, added some money to my account, and I thought you might as well shop with me if you want. We can talk about various things involving the sales that are going on and the reasons why I'm picking up certain titles, some things you might want to look out for, and just kind of hang out with me. So if that's what you're looking for, then you're in the right place. Hurrah. I never know how to say that. That's one that's been on my list for a good while. These retro throwback shooters, there's been a lot of them in recent years. Hopefully this video, by the way, isn't as long and dense as the last one, but nonetheless, this is just on a whim. Hopefully this is entertaining to somebody. Episode 2. Yeah, it's been in development for a while, still in early access. I'm not the kind of person to necessarily pick up a lot of titles that are still in early access. From video games to video game consoles, I'm one of those people that are, what do you call that, late supporting, I don't know, I'm the person that comes to a platform late, a few years after a console comes out. I'm the kind of guy that picks up a game for $20 on sale, years down the line. So it's great that there's so many titles that are coming out in early access and such, but and on the one hand, there you go, Ion Fury, that's another one I definitely got to talk about. And it's great that certain genres like these retro throwback shooters are coming back into style, but on the other end, I'm also not strapped with cash. I'm definitely not in the place financially, or even I just have so many games to play, period. I'm just not not just going to throw things around and support a game that only has a bit of content and might not even, be finished fully, But I'm all for these kinds of projects, that's for sure. And Ion Fury, or I keep thinking Ion Maiden, that's what it used to be called, is definitely one on my list. We'll add it to the cart for now. 65% off, man. $25 is, I was thinking about buying it, for quite a while when I finally was in the mood to play it. But for $8.74, that's really a steal. It's interesting. It's if you don't know what it is, it's Bombshell was a character that was originally going to be in the Duke Nukem Forever sequel to Duke Nukem 3D, the one from 2001 or so. I believe that's what this is based off of. And later on, there was a game that came out called Bombshell in 2014 or so that is based off of that same character. Shelly, I think is her name, and she was retooled to be less of a Duke Nukem bimbo, I guess, and kind of her own thing. And I got pretty mixed reviews. 2016, isometric or top-down, I don't know the exact perspective name, shooter and so on. And then later on, she's now in her own shooter inspired by the build engine games of yesteryear, Shadow Warrior, Blood, and Duke Nukem 3D. And that was Ion Fury that you just saw. So kind of an interesting history there. The deluxe edition. What's in the deluxe edition? Just to see. NA, so you can't even buy it on its own now. Oh, it's art book and world map, huh? Anyways, and speaking of, I don't even want to go on, I don't even want to get pissed and go on a whole tangent, but the Duke Nukem 3D, the build engine games of that era, if you certainly haven't played those I guarantee are on sale. $2 for the original Duke Nukem, or this version, I should say. I'll get into that in a minute. Definitely worth it, but it's too bad you can't actually buy the Megaton edition on Steam anymore. I believe you can buy it through another service. Don't quote me on that, but it's a weird kind of indie service of sorts. Anyways, but nonetheless, you're probably going to want it on Steam so you can use various Steam features you can see here and such. But the problem is you're going to have to play it through the World Tour Edition, and the World Tour Edition is the original game, but up-resed and redone with kind of remastered graphics, plus it comes with a 5th episode. So what is the problem? That sounds great, right? It's not. The graphical presentation, although it's been updated, it also, in my opinion, removes a lot of the I guess, visual style that we had, it kind of washes things out, and you won't really see that. You see that more in motion. On top of that, the game is extremely poorly optimized. Playing it with the original graphics mode doesn't actually fix the problem, because the way that the game is rendered and everything else is different. I don't know how it's being emulated. I don't know what they use to, in this version, but nonetheless, it's just, it's not good. It doesn't run well. It has a lot of glitches and issues, and the lighting thing I'm just not a fan of. Whether you play it in the classic mode or you play it with the new graphics, it just doesn't run correctly. From my experience, I played all the way through this World Tour Edition, and I played through the original DOS version multiple times over again on multiple consoles, and I just do not like the World Tour Edition. And the same, a lot of people agree, it seems, if you look at the discussions on the game, so much so that although I still recommend picking it up for $1.99, I highly recommend you go to the Steam Workshop and download the fix for it. It fixes the game and allows you to play the original DOS version as intended, but with a few of the additions that the World Tour Edition comes with. Let's hop over to... Geez, I don't know why it's not. Thought it would just throw me right over there, but you get what I'm saying. Maybe I don't have to show you, but I guess I will now that I'm already over here. Of course, you can always skip around in this video if you get bored with whatever I'm talking about. But the same kind of thing can be said for the Blood version. The original Blood isn't on Steam anymore either. You have to buy the retooled version that has issues. Is it actually? I think it's in guides now that I'm looking. Yep, here it is. Got it saved. All official add-ons, Duke Caribbean, Life's a Beach, Nuclear Winter, and many more. So this allows you to add the add-ons that were taken out of the game. The game got different, I think it was Suncoast. I'm not 100% sure. But there were a few different add-ons that came out back in the day. Those weren't included. So you're able to add those back into the game. You're able to play Episode 5, which is normally exclusive to World Tour. It was a new add-on that was made for the time in 2016. You're able to play that in the original engine with the add-ons that were removed and everything else, and I believe it even comes with a few different tweaks that you can do involving the graphics, but it's nothing, from what I know, to the extent that we see in the World Tour Edition. It's not, the graphical additions that you can add aren't nearly as I guess modern as what you get in World Tour, but as I was saying, in my opinion, it's not even that good of a presentation to begin with, because it takes away arguably from what the game was trying to do in terms of its art direction, but that's neither here nor there. You get Duke It Out in DC, Duke Nukem Nuclear Winter. Nuclear Winter is a lot of fun. It's cheesy, very short, and not the best in terms of its design. It recycles some maps and such, but it's still a lot of fun to play around the holiday season. Duke Caribbean, Life's a Beach, that's good fun as well. And then you even get other add-ons that came out around the time. Penthouse Paradise, free level created by GT Interactive. Stuff like Duke Zone is one of those packs that comes with a bunch of levels that were just dumped from the internet, from what I remember. So you get a lot of that kind of stuff, and there's other guides that you can look up as well that will allow you to, other guides other than just this that will do what I'm talking about. But speaking of, Blood comes next. We got to talk about the newest version of Blood by, what are they called? Night Vision? Night Dive Studios, there you go. I hate looking for the title of this game, trying to look for it on Steam, because, Blood is such kind of a generic title. There's a specific, it's Fresh Supply, that's it. So for $5.99, this is also worth it. It's not as on sale as the other titles, but I don't think, But still, 40% off is good, and definitely pick this up if you haven't played Blood yet. Not as good. Same thing with Duke Nukem. It's not as, it didn't have as many retooled elements to it, I'd say, and because of that, it wasn't screwed up as much, but it's still running through an engine that just doesn't emulate the physics and behavior of the original DOS Classic, in my opinion. So if you want the pure experience, if you want to really kind of experience Blood as it was meant to be played, I can't I can't say this is really how you should play it out of the box, but you can, even though there's like legacy modes and crap, it's not the same because again, it's running through a different engine. The physics in Blood are some of the best. Allow for some of the best movement in first-person shooters that I have ever played. From throwing the dynamite to being able to like jump and use the dynamite and explosives and stuff to kind of like launch yourself through the air. The quick movement and the snappy mouse movements you have to make while switching weapons and such. It's all very precise. It was all very fine-tuned, and Night Dive seemed to have done the best they could, but ultimately I didn't like it. I even returned the title since I own the original Atari port of the DOS version that was on Steam years before this came out. But you can still retool this as well, from what I know. So, and either way, maybe if you haven't played the DOS version, maybe you'll be okay with this. I can't recommend it full stop, I suppose, compared to the Duke Nukem one, where it's not that hard at all to retool that. Blood, I'm not 100% sure how easy it is to retool, but I'm almost positive you can, because as I said, I returned it. You know, I'm sticking with this version here, which again sadly isn't available on Steam. It might be available somewhere else, but either way, a few dollars for Blood. I gotta recommend it. One whole unit. There you go. That's that version. But what else? Shadow Warrior. If you haven't played that, it's probably on sale as well. This version of Shadow Warrior I can in fact recommend, the Classic Redux. There's the DOS version, as far as I know, that is included with this. I'm almost positive. Plus, you have the retooled version that has some new elements. It includes the expansions, just like the last Blood port we were looking at. That also includes the expansions. So, unlike Duke Nukem World Tour, you don't have to scour the internet for the extra content, just to get a complete experience. You're gonna get that here. You're gonna get that with Blood. So that's also awesome. And on top of that, again, $2. You can't beat $2. 80% off. Jeez. So yeah, there you go. Now that we're done talking about Max Payne as well is probably on sale. Let's look at some of the titles. I don't want to spend too long going on here. We got to kind of keep it moving. But let's see some titles I have on my wish list. I have an insanely huge wish list, but let's go through some highlights and some things I'm thinking about picking up and why maybe you might want to pick it up. Eagle Pop I already have, along with a lot of these PopCap games, but if you haven't played the PopCap games or it's been a while or what have you, this is definitely a great way to pick them up. I played the demo of this actually, and through Steam, and I own it. This is very much like a reimagining of Pac-Man. It's one of those maze-style games. You have to navigate yourself through the maze, pick up these little Eagle Pops, and then bring them back to their home while also avoiding enemies. As you pick these up, the chain that you pick up grows longer and longer, almost forms kind of a snake, and if an enemy touches any part of you or your snake, all your Eagle Pops break apart. So you gotta kind of maneuver your growing snake of Eagles without being touched by the enemies and navigate them back to their corresponding home that matches the Eagle Pop's color. You'll be supporting EA by buying these, but you're also supporting the games industry and showing EA that these titles are worth a dang and should be made available on more platforms and so on. So yeah, if you haven't played these, you definitely should. The Zuma games, geez, those are great. Bejeweled, of course, everybody knows about those. Some more underrated PopCap titles, Pizza Frenzy. Man, I have such fun memories playing this. I actually have some gameplay of this I haven't uploaded on my secondary channel yet, I don't think, but I probably should now that we're mentioning it. But this is, I don't know how to explain it really, outside of just telling you what you do. You click on various houses will show types of pizza they want. You click on the corresponding house, I believe, and then yeah, you have to drag and drop people's orders to the corresponding pizza location. Pizza pizza house, whatever you want to call it. You unlock other types of pizzas, toppings that have different values, and different areas will be more likely to have more people want a certain kind of pizza. So if you're in a tropical environment, more people will likely want Hawaiian pizza. So you can choose your toppings of what kind of pizza you're going to have available for that day. You got to serve it under a certain amount of time. It's kind of like a score attack game, I guess you could say. Pretty fun arcade title in my opinion, and not one you hear about very often. I guess you don't hear about a lot of these PopCap games too often, but Pizza Frenzy especially. Chuzzle Deluxe is kind of a different cutesy version of Bejeweled. If you haven't played that, you should. Instead of matching 3 jewels together, you have to slide vertically or horizontally. You have to slide one of these chuzzles in order to create combos. So a little different there, not too different, but it does change the gameplay ultimately. So I'd still say that's worth having. Geez, Heavy Weapon, although it's simple, it's addicting and a lot of fun. A great arcade shooter. Move your tank around, fight various bosses and enemies, and go through the stages. There's enough content here to be well worth $1.24 in my opinion. Big Money Deluxe. This one was real early in PopCap's catalog, 2001 or 2, I believe, something like that. Although it says 2006 there when it was released on Steam, I believe that's what that date's indicating. But this is a match 3. Matching colors once again, but it's a little different. It's kind of like, I don't know if you guys know about 4 Elements. That was a popular Big Fish title back in the day. Similar to that, you have to drag, the coins slowly stack up and get higher and higher towards the top of the screen. Once they reach the top of the screen, you're screwed. So in order to succeed, you have to basically drag groups of colors together, and if you have 3 or more, you can drag them and basically make them disappear. And depending on where you drag, right, and what coins you make disappear will cause others to fall. So kind of like Bejeweled, the strategy is not just making chains of 3 or 4, but it's trying to make combos and trying to get a lot of greens in one area, so then you can drag your mouse across them and then eliminate more than just a few at once. You also have to collect money bags in order to progress to the next level, next screen, you could say. There's different modes involving puzzle, strategy, action. It's a lot of fun. Pick that up as well. What else? That's about it for... Oh, Astro Pop. Got to talk about that. Outside of that, I guess that's about it for PopCap. Then we'll be moving on. Astro Pop is a combination of a color matching game, like a lot of these PopCap games, but the twist here is that it's through the style of a shooter. So you pick up various blocks, magnetically connect them to your ship, and then you have to shoot them at the corresponding block color. So you'll suck in a green block with your ship, and you'll stack them up, and then you'll throw them back. It's almost kind of like Clax, if anybody remembers Atari's arcade puzzle hit Clax. It's kind of like that, but mixed with a shooter. It's pretty cool. You get upgrades later on. You can play as different characters that all have different special abilities. Good fun. You should pick that up as well, especially for $1.24. Moving on, though, let's talk about some of the titles I've been looking at picking up. I haven't played these, but some titles that are on sale that I think are quite interesting and I want to talk about. So, how do you spell sanitarium? I don't know how you spell that. Another one, though, is No, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. If you haven't listened to this, Night Dive, Night Dive once again. If you haven't checked out the short story, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, it's a amazing, about a hour-long read. There's an audio version on YouTube, which I listened to. A very surreal, otherworldly tale of a dystopian future. And basically, we are the gods that have created life, and this life is AI. But this AI grows to resent humanity for creating it. Right? Is suffering inherent to life? you could say. So is suffering inherent to sentience, I guess you should say. In this case, it seems like that's kind of what it's projecting, because the AI grows to resent humanity, grows to resent its God for creating it, because its inherent life is that of a slave. So an amazing story, and one that I really want to explore in this point and click from the late 90s. And this is also on sale for quite cheap. Interesting graphical style, and a horror point and click that's modeled after one of the best short stories, or the best short story I've ever read. Sounds like a bargain for sure. My wish list is just, flooded with a lot of titles. A lot of the stuff I got to get rid of. A lot of the stuff I got to sort through. We could do that. Actually, if you want to see a video of me sorting through my wish list, getting rid of titles I already own on other platforms, and kind of going through it, then we certainly could do that one of these days. That's more easy content to Rise of the Triad I already own. That's more easy content to put out there, where we hang out and talk about games and stuff. So if you want to see that, be sure and let me know. It's funny that the Resident Evil games are always on sale, but it's funny that Revelations 2, in particular, the first episode is always on sale, because this first episode is real short. I think I got it for free on Games with Gold on Xbox 360, and it took me like an hour or 2 hours or something. So 77 cents, it's certainly worth it for that, but you're definitely not getting a real game there. You're just kind of getting the first taste, but a fun experience nonetheless. I mean, I'm not talking down on it. I just think it's kind of funny that it's in a similar price range as the other Resident Evils, yet the other Resident Evils are entire games, and that's just one episode. But the Thief games, I have the first Thief. Kind of not an easy game to get into, but certainly, I mean, you got to play it if you're into games of this type, if you're into stealth games and such. I want to pick up its sequel one of these days, but I haven't played enough of the first game to really get around to dropping the whole 97 cents on it. Excuse me. And Thief Gold, I'm guessing, is around the same price. Yes, sirree. And you got so many Eidos games here for real cheap, the Tomb Raiders and such. And I believe on GOG you can also get a collection of the Tomb Raider games there as well for about the same, if not cheaper. So there's that. Painkiller, that's a lot of fun. I have that on Xbox, so I imagine the Steam version, the PC version, is certainly better if it even runs on modern hardware. If not, you could probably tweak it, but featuring 10 additional levels, yeah, that's cool. For sure. This is a horde shooter that kind of, how do you say, it's Victorian in a lot of aspects. A horror horde shooter from the early 2000s. Good fun for what it is. Kind of reminds me of Dark Watch, if any of you have ever played that. But definitely less story focused, I'd say. More arcadey than Dark Watch, but in a similar style. The Serious Sam games, those always go on sale. What else? Hotline Miami. That's certainly one to pick up if you haven't played that already. I'm still going through the first game. There's some frustrating elements. I'm not actually. It's a little bit of a. I'm gonna get somebody's gonna get pissed off, but I'm a little disappointed personally with the first Hotline Miami. I really enjoyed it from what I've played, but there's certain elements that kind of irked me. So there's that. Mostly the bosses. Let's play the video while I'm talking here. But if you haven't played it, it's still certainly worth playing. And the sequel is also on sale, as you saw there. Armcrog is interesting. That's it's gonna freeze on me, isn't it? That's okay. Armcrog is certainly an interesting title, one with a mixed reception, especially because I've heard people were complaining about the price. This is a kind of reimagining, I don't remember which, of the Neverhood, which is a late 90s point-and-click adventure game. So the reimagining being charging someone $10 or $15 for a game that's as old as it is. I guess people didn't like that. That's what I've heard. Others say, if I remember correctly, that It's a little bit esoteric, It's a point and click from the late '90s, so in my opinion, at least, it kind of comes with the territory. Not that excuses a game being kind of clunky or esoteric, but you're playing a 20, 30-year-old game that's that has puzzles and things like that are modeled after logic and the way things were decades ago, right? Similar to how FMV games, right, are gonna kind of be a little cheesy nowadays. I think it's kind of a similar thing. These puzzle games aren't necessarily gonna have super easy to understand puzzles for someone that doesn't necessarily align with the logic of the time. Games back then weren't necessarily filled with hints and all these kinds of guides and things like that these modern point and clicks have. So holding a game like that up against these modern indie point and clicks in terms of quality is fair, but in terms of style or going and expecting it to be the exact same in terms of design is just kind of silly. But anyways, this is one I've had on my list for a long time. I'll add it to my cart for now, at least. Definitely one I've been wanting to play, partially because of the world design, partially because of the later games that it kind of inspired, and it being a very unique title from the time, but also I just love claymation, so there you go. And going off of that, Mega Race, yeah. I've been going through a lot of games in the vehicular combat genre. This is more racing with some combat elements, not necessarily Twisted Metal per se, but more so, I guess you could say, not really Road Rash, but like, I don't know, Spy Hunter, but but a different view, that kind of stuff, what was that another game I was going to compare it to? Anyways, it doesn't matter. But you can see the gameplay here, and the fact that I'm going through vehicular combat games, trying to play as many of them as I can, means that this is certainly one I'm going to be picking up. Look at those lighting effects, man. You got old FMV stuff as well here. Full motion video there. So definitely one, 59 cents. You should probably pick up if it looks interesting. I mean, why not for 59 cents? There's a sequel as well that came out a few years later. A similar game that I don't know about similar, but another vehicular combat game that from that era, with FMVs and things. It isn't on Steam right now, but one I'd recommend picking up somewhere, wherever you can find it, is, what's that called? It's a taxi game. Quarantine. So Quarantine is what it's called. That's a real fun one as well. If you play Mega Race there and it seems interesting, or if you're looking for other kinds of games like that, vehicular combat games from the early to mid 90s, then that's definitely one to check out. It's kind of like Crazy Taxi crossed with like Escape from New York and Twisted Metal, I guess. Czar, that's one I've had on my list as well for a while. It's a first-person shooter, but you're in a mech, remastered by Night Dive, and has kind of a cult following. Let's look at some gameplay here. 2097. Guess I could turn on some audio. I think it's flying around there. Yeah, it's first-person shooter still. Looks interesting. How much is this? Only $1.49, 75% off. That's a pretty good deal. I imagine a game like this, before it was released on Night Dive, or maybe still today, you could probably find on a site like archive.org, or what was the other thing I was thinking of? Abandonware. There you go, Abandonware, something like that. So, but to be able to support the developers and such, definitely seems like something to pick up if it looks interesting to you. I guess I don't need to say that. What else here? Let's look. Discount. So these are the most discounted games, it looks like. 90% off there, 90% off. Nux. That's one that's, I forget the first title's name, But this came out. This is by the developers that made Papyrus. Is that what it's called? I forget. Got a real bad rating there. But the shoot 'em up that this same developer made, if I remember correctly, Platypus, that's it, is Platypus and Platypus 2. The first one doesn't seem to be on here, which is interesting, but Platypus 2 has been on my list for a while. Wonder what the mixed reception is. Looks kind of like an interesting, why it's been on my radar? Well, it looks like an interesting arcade 2D shooter, and the fact that I like claymation so much, it's been one I've been wanting to check out. Putrid sequel to a legendary game, really. Ending is blatant, nag screen to buy Nux. Interesting. It's not on sale anyway, so I don't think I'll be picking it up this time around. I got so many games I need to play, but just something I guess I wanted to point out. Let's go back to my wish list here. I wish there was an easier, I don't know, almost like a bookmark feature where you can bookmark part of your wish list or a certain page on Steam that you can just jump to more easily. The XCOM games are on sale. They're always on sale, but haven't gotten through too many of those. I played, I think it's UFO Defense. I forget which one that was. One of the early ones, first, second, third. And then I've also played The Bureau, XCOM. It's just called XCOM The Bureau, I forget. That one's not a bad game. I have it on 360. We'll check out that in a second if that's on sale. But here we got Prey's on sale here, the remake. Wonder if the original's on sale. That's one I'm interested in checking out. The remake doesn't look a whole lot like Prey. It doesn't look a whole lot like the 2007 or so game, but which is why it doesn't interest me as much. But certainly if you're interested or in other Bethesda games, it looks like a lot of them are on sale here. Or Arcane games, I suppose, but I mean published by Bethesda, some of those at least. And what are we doing here? Prey. Let's check out the first Prey. Is that even on Steam? I would hope so.
Oh my god! Security! Security!
Don't you hate that when you don't you hate that when you look up a game and on Steam and all you get is a list of other games that don't at all look like what you search for? Maybe it's not. That's interesting, or a little too bad. If so, I wonder who owns the rights to that. Does Bethesda own the rights to the original Prey? If so, I guess they just don't care about re-releasing it, just like some of their other titles. I'd love to play something like Elder Scrolls Arena or Daggerfall, but I mean none of those have been re-released anytime soon, anytime recently, from what I know. Right? They have Daggerfall deal. Oh, really? Oh, wow. I'm just talking out my behind then. I gotta pick this up. When was this re-released? They tell you when the game came out, right? They tell you 1996. But, geez, I gotta check that out. Gotta make sure you guys can see what's going on here. Sure. As you can see, I gotta move some stuff around on my hard drives one of these days because I'm running out of space. When was this review? June 19th, June 3rd. Is that when a lot of these were? So it must have came out recently? Man, that's awesome. So if you guys want to play Daggerfall, certainly pick that up. That's free. And of course, Daggerfall and other Elder Scrolls content has been added to certain ones like online and such. I know reinventing and reimagining these areas, in online has been a thing they've been doing for quite a few years with all the expansions and stuff, but I had no idea they re-released the actual original Daggerfall. Let's check out what else Bethesda has going on. We might as well. Jeez, and now it's Bethesda Xbox, which I still can't get over. Wow, Arena as well? Okay, I'm picking that up. Free, man. Not even a few dollars, not even $5, free. You gotta pick it up then. Just throw it in your library. Only 105 megabytes for a whole open world. And speaking of, I imagine the Ultima games are on sale. Ultima Underworld and stuff. Similar styled games. If you Just wanted to throw that out there, I suppose. Morrowind, I'm more likely to pick that up on original Xbox myself. See how far it can push the hardware, I'd say. But still, Redguard, that's cool. Wow, some of the side games. I wonder if, Battlespire. Wow, that's cool. I'm going to add those to my wish list, my ever-growing wish list. But, oh no, that's Oblivion. Which I want to play too, but, I'm more a fan of the older games of those styles. I more want to dive into the early titles in the series before, hopping into 3 and 4 probably. Although I've played Skyrim. Everybody's played Skyrim, though. That doesn't count. No, it does. I'm just a hypocrite. One man against an empire. Mixed reviews. I wonder what the deal is with that. Does it have hardware issues? Hate this game. The game is fun. Okay. I don't know if I'm crazy, but I swear this version runs better than the GOG version. Okay, anyways, better add that to the wish list. That's cool, for sure. I'm glad all that stuff has been added. And we were talking about Prey. There was something else I wanted to point out here. Ghostwire Tokyo. Man, that looks amazing. I can't run it, that's for sure, but a man can dream. Prey once again. Evil Within. Not as big of a fan of the second game. The first game, well, the second game, in my opinion, is more approachable. First game was a better horror experience from, if I want to throw my 2 cents out there, but both are worth playing if you're interested in horror shooters and have the time. Doom, the Doom games are all on sale, of course. Fallout, wow, that's one certainly to pick up. Fallout 2 is definitely my pick if you only can play one. But I'd say the first one's worth playing as well. If you have the time to play before, the second one. Commander Keen, I have that on GOG. It's interesting the game doesn't have music at all, it seems. That was a little bit of a disappointment, and the controls are a little bit clunky, a little bit hard to get used to. It is a PC platformer from the early years of such a thing. Early 90s, trying to kind of compete with what was going on consoles at the time. Hardware was more advanced, but also less advanced in ways than consoles at the time. So the whole idea of a side-scroller was something that was pretty innovative at the time for PCs. And, id helped put themselves on the map with their technical prowess in multiple departments, both through Wolfenstein and its ray casting, whatever you want to call it, engine, and doing things like Commander Keen that helped show the PC world that, hey, you can do smooth scrolling 2D platformers just like what you saw on the NES and things at the time. It just takes some workarounds. But those workarounds, I'd say, definitely make the experience nowadays not necessarily something that's as easy to just kind of hop into. Max Payne 3 I'm going to pick up. I already have looked around a bit before I did this video. I'm a hack, I know. I'm cheating. But nonetheless, Max Payne 3, man. That's one I've played a decent amount of on the 360, and definitely doesn't live up to the first two in my opinion. But man, it's a heck of an action game if there ever was one. You know what I mean? First two Max Paynes, got to pick those up too if you haven't already, especially for as cheap as they are. 15. I didn't know they charged an extra $5 on 2, because $10 normally for Max Payne 1 makes sense, I suppose. Original Xbox titles, things from that era, it's not an original Xbox title, you know what I mean? Games from the 6th generation that were on those platforms oftentimes are re-released for around that, 10 or 15. But it's interesting that they thought that they could get an extra 5 out of Max Payne 2. But Max Payne 2 also has a much bigger modding community than Max Payne 1. So I suppose the PC version nowadays might have a slight bit more value in that regard. I don't know. Max Payne 2 also, I guess, is technically more impressive, running off or using the Havoc's physics engine and running off of, I believe it's the same engine as Max Payne 1, but it's much more advanced. Rockstar gave Remedy the leeway and the freedom by way of financial support and being the publisher of both titles, including the second one. They were more a part, I guess you should say, of the second game. Easier way of summarizing that. So with that being said, they were able to kind of hone what they did in Max Payne 1 and make a technically even more impressive title than Max Payne 1 already was. So that's kind of interesting there. And I guess we're wrapping up to a close. We're starting to run out of steam here. I want to steam classic comedy. Anyways, so we're wrapping it up here. I don't really have too much else to talk about, I don't think. There's more stuff to go through, certainly, but I feel like we're running out of steam. If you wanna see more content like this, definitely tell me. What are you getting on Steam? That's the important thing. What are you getting through this year's summer sale? I want to know. I want to hear all about it in the comments below, even on the Discord for those of you that may watch this that are a part of the Discord. And yeah, I'm going to wrap it up. Let's talk about one more title here real quick. We got another Night Dive point and click here. As you can see, I've been looking into a lot of these FMV title here. Let's watch some cheesy cinematics here if it'll load. You got like a comic book aesthetic. That's kind of interesting. Something I'm definitely into. A dark world. Just gonna show it through these. It's not gonna. She's a looker, isn't she? Look at that city, man. All those lights. You gotta love these FMVs from back then. I don't know, not everybody does, but I feel like it's hard not to. One I've heard about, but haven't picked up yet, but looks pretty cheap, so why not, right? You're getting into more of these kind of games. Pretty colors. Yeah, I'm sold. Are you sold? And yeah, $10, definitely nice to support the industry and stuff, but for $250, I mean, geez, that's a one to pick up for $250. But Harvester's another one as well if you haven't played that. What's the deal going on? I don't know what the deal is there. Half-Life, that has to be on sale. Everybody knows about the Half-Life games, but I don't know. I'm just talking at this point. Harvester, last minute here. Definitely. Oh, man, it's glitching out on me. If you're into FMV point and clicks, if you're into exploitation in your FMV games and kind of weirdness, horror weirdness, this one's another one to pick up. A little bit difficult to play, in terms of it being, how do you say, a little bit clunky in terms of its puzzles. It's a little bit hard to get a grip on its logic, but again, that's just how things were at the time. You kind of got to either take it or leave it in that regard. But if you can take it, if you can get around the more unique puzzles, I guess the more hard to understand puzzle elements of these kinds of games, Harvester is definitely one to play.
What is at issue in answering the question?
And yeah, that's about it. Thank you very much for watching. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. Aloha.